It's another go round of wow. That is out of control this morning. Let's see. Hang on. I'm going to smash my hair down here because you would think that maybe putting the headset on would smash it down enough, but apparently not. It's a new round of SDH AM. John here, you there. Thanks for dropping by as you always do. We got a lot to get into this morning in a bunch of different places. And it's everything from what's going on with UEFA and FIFA to what's going on the field with Major League Soccer, to what's going on off the field with Major League Soccer. You had a couple of press conferences yesterday announcing some folks and announcing some things. Had Leagues Cup last night, have Leagues Cup today. We'll get you into that. We had we actually had one matchup in soccer last night in the college game. We'll have the highlight from that game attached to the footprint. Then we obviously have to kind of look back yesterday. Breel Embolo was introduced to the Atlanta media. So we have some of that with Chris Henderson and the new striker for Atlanta United. We have some news in the women's game. And obviously we've got some Champions League qualifier stuff. Just one moment from that because there's a really cool story that's attached to all of that stuff. But first, we actually go this way. And or do we not? Actually, no, we go this way. Here we go. Sorry, I hit the button that I thought triggered it, but no, it's just a different background. From Atlanta United this morning, they announced that they have signed midfielder Jay Fortune to a contract extension through the 28-29 season with an option for 29-30. Fortune ranks second all-time in appearances and third in goals among Atlanta homegrown signings. Club will host a press conference with Fortune tomorrow. Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. Chris Henderson, quote, Jay's journey is a great example of what we hope to see from players coming through our academy. He's worked hard to develop every aspect of his game and has grown into a player we trust and rely on. Just as importantly, he's developed into a true professional and despite his age has quickly emerged as a player with strong leadership qualities. Jay has earned the respect of his teammates through his daily approach. We're delighted to keep him with the club as he continues to take on an even bigger role in the years ahead. 23, 74 MLS regular season and playoff appearances since his debut in 2023. 4 goals, 4 assists. Raleigh, North Carolina native joined the academy in 2018, worked his way through the ranks in the U17 and U19 before making his professional debut with the Twos, July 11th of 2020. Next 3.5 seasons, mainstay in the team's midfield, started 52 of 68 appearances, recorded 4 goals and an assist in USL Championship and MLS Next Pro, signed a homegrown contract July 21 of 22, became effective New Year's Day of 23. Made his MLS debut March 11 of 23 against Charlotte, 17 MLS appearances that year, including all 3 of Atlanta's Round 1 playoff series matches. Started 13 of his 27 appearances in his second season in 24, had 1 goal and 2 assists. Scored his first MLS goal at Charlotte August 31st, the game-winning goal in a 1-0 win. 15 appearances and had 1 goal in 25 before missing the remainder of the season due to injury. This year, scored twice in 10 MLS appearances, including 5 starts, represents Trinidad and Tobago on the international level. 2 goals and 14 appearances since his debut in 2021. So, to sum up, Jay Fortune, contract extension through the 28-29 season with an option for 29-30. And that obviously is very, very cool that Jay Fortune gets to stay and be a part of the continued growth that we've seen with Atlanta United. So there is the latest with Jay Fortune. So Jay Fortune has been kept in the fold through 28-29 with an option for 29-30. And obviously we'll keep an eye on that. Once again, tomorrow, Jay gets to be introduced to the assembled media at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground to discuss the contract extension. So very, very cool stuff there with Jay. So that is the first piece of breaking news this morning. Like I said, we do have some other breaking news and things that we'll get into that have other things to do with things other than Atlanta United. But opening kickoff is not about Atlanta United. So it's kind of like this. It's like breaking news, and you have your opening kickoff, and then you have your rest of the show. So that's kind of where we are today. We're going to be kind of wall past Wednesdaying our way through all this stuff and work our way through it. But once again, Jay Fortune locked up tomorrow, and he's locked up today, but the press conference will be tomorrow involving Jay Fortune and reintroducing Jay as part of Atlanta United for a while. So there you go. So it's been officially announced Jay Fortune is staying through 28-29 with an option for 29-30. So very, very cool stuff there. Okay. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Start your day with the most important stories in the game. Right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blending with beans from Brazil, Guatemala, heavy bodied notes of walnut, semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Powered by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. This is opening kickoff. Yesterday, we had 3 qualifying matches in Champions League overseas. And one of them involved, and I guess so technically, I guess this is how we can kind of link Atlanta United through these first 3 elements. George Bello with Lusk and Celtic, and Jarrett was the screaming that you heard when the match was over, because you had a 4-0 lead. You had a 4-0 lead for Celtic going into leg number 2. It did not stay that way. It did not. It legitimately did not. So it was a long day in Champions League yesterday. If you were a fan of Celtic, my apologies. And George Bello was a part of what went down yesterday. He got the assist that got things rolling for Lusk to tie it at 1. And so let me go through the Leagues Cup. I don't need Leagues Cup here. I mean, I don't need also what happened with the Cup, the Carabao Cup. That's what I was looking for. So qualifying yesterday, Lusk and Celtic. So you end up with a goal in the 32nd minute. Well, actually, Celtic scored first, actually. They were at 4-0 after the first leg. So they score in the 21st to make it 5-0. Or wait, 3 to make it 4. That's right, 3 to make it 4. So up 3-0, you score to make it 4. And then Usor scores in the 32nd to tie the match at 1. And then you had chaos from there, basically. Lubicic scores in the 48th. Sam Adeniran scores twice, 58th and 109. Florian Flecker, which is one of the great names. Florian Flecker ended up with a goal in the 90th to send things to an extra 30. And then Sam Adeniran scores in the 109th minute. Lusk comes from 3-0 down to win 5-4 in aggregate. And once again, George Bello actually got an assist to kind of tie things up at 1 in the matchup. And so in the Bundesliga, he has started 3 matches for Lusk Linz so far this season. And he gets everything rolling. But Sam Adeniran, as a part of all of this, and the shot numbers were just insane. We'll go over the team stats in a bit. But one of those goals, and it was the first one from Adeniran that made it 3-1 on the day. And then it was once again getting closer and closer and closer to having to go the extra 30. But this goal that Adeniran scored was absolute chaos personified. Morning, David. So you end up with a goal like this, and this is from our friends at Paramount Plus, where Sam Adeniran gets this goal in the 58th minute, and we'll go over Sam's story here in a second.
Now Adeniran. Oh, what a hole! What a goal! Now they believe. Now they believe. Just one goal in it now, and over half an hour to play.
But I must admit, I didn't see this comment from Adeniran. For me, he's lacked quality tonight. His decision-making's been poor, but a moment of magic from the big centre-forward. Absolutely spectacular. Celtic scored 3 wonderful goals in Glasgow, and this is right up there with them. What about that?
So you get that goal from Sam Adeniran, and here's the path And I had known some of this. I didn't know all of it. Here is the path that Sam Adeniran has taken, and you have the moment that you had yesterday. So let's go back to 2012. 2012, he's at Cypress Christian School in Houston, Texas. 2014, he goes to the Steven Gerrard Academy in England. 2017, Belenenses U19s in Portugal. 2018, Leganés B in Spain. Loaned to Chacarita in the Argentine 2nd Division. Loaned from there to CD Guadalajara in the Spanish 4th Division, Spain. 2019, CD Castellon, 3rd Division, Spain on loan. 2019-2020, Kickers Emden, the 5th Division in Germany. From there, it goes to Atlas Delmenhorst, the 4th Division in Germany. Then he goes to Tacoma Defiance, has a cup of coffee with the Sounders. Now, I remember him from San Antonio FC in USL Championship where he was loaned out. Then he had time in St. Louis FC. Remember him there too. Then he goes to Philadelphia Union, and then he goes to Lusk Linz. 27 years old, he now gets to play in Champions League with the brace that he had yesterday. And Lusk getting the win in the aggregate 5-4. Christian School in Texas, Steven Gerrard Academy, Portugal, Spain, 2nd Division Argentina, 4th Division Spain, 3rd Division Spain, 5th Division Germany, 4th Division Germany, USL Championship, MLS, USL Championship, MLS, Austria. And that is in 13 years. So at the age of 27, he's now in Champions League. So this goes back to the time when he was 14, basically. Well, 13. So it literally is all of those for Sam Adeniran. And if you look at any of the comments on this goal specifically, there are so many fans that are bent out of shape in St. Louis about how poorly his situation was treated. It was bad, according to St. Louis City fans. So they let Sam Adeniran go, goes to Philly, then goes to Lusk, gets a brace, and now they're going to be, they have qualified for Champions League. They made it the hard way, but they've gone through, and Celtic goes home, and everybody has a sad. So that was the looking at that goal yesterday, the brace that Adeniran had, them qualifying for Champions League, and then finding out his path over the last dozen years. You want to talk about having a day? Well worth it. Well done, Sam Adeniran. That's opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Once again, we start you with the best stories of the day, most important stories. Right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta, trying their home blend made with greens in Brazil, Guatemala, heavy body, notes of walnut, semi-sweet chocolate, rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. All right. So in addition to Jay Fortune getting signed yesterday with Atlanta United, it was the introduction of introductions with Breel Embolo. Morning, Lokeville. Morning, Knicks. So Breel Embolo gets introduced yesterday to Atlanta United and to the Atlanta United faithful. And so you get the Q&A, you get all the questions and all of that. You try and find out some things for features and stuff like that. And so obviously, Training Ground Dispatch with Maddie and Jason goes a little bit more in depth into what they saw with the Breel Embolo press conference yesterday. But we do have a couple of sound bites from that this morning. First one that I pulled is having to do with Chris Henderson. When Chris Henderson was asked about what it was that Breel Embolo brings to the table, here's Chris Henderson's response.
Yeah, I mean, first you can see Breel's character and what type of person he is. He's going to fit great into the way we want to play, fits into the locker room. He'll be a leader. He, on the field, he's a goal scorer. He can occupy both defenders, not only play with his back to goal, but he can stretch the teams as well and use his speed and his power and his technique. So I think he checks the boxes we want. He's a very good finisher when he gets chances inside the box. So in the conversations we had with the staff, the type of profile, we were really excited when there was an opportunity to get him signed. The conversations were about, figuring out what he his intentions were, what he wanted to do with his career. He's played in 3 different excellent leagues. Does he want this opportunity for himself and his family? And then we presented who we are as a club to him. And I think it's a great fit, and it's a huge day for Atlanta United.
Chris Henderson on Breel Embolo, as he is now a part of Atlanta United, still waiting on the visa, everything to be I's dotted, T's crossed, all that stuff. So, but he's been introduced to the Atlanta United media and to the fans as well. So then Jason asks about adapting to each of the leagues that he's been a part of. And here was his response, because he's been in a couple of different European leagues. Now he's coming over to Major League Soccer. Question from Jason was having to do with the biggest challenges that are attached in each of these adjustment periods that he's had.
No, the heading I have is to first to adapt to the team, to my team. I think we need to watch what we can do, what we can control, and it starts with us. I always look us, and after that, if you have another team there is better than you, sometimes you need to accept it and shake the hand. But it's always about us, how we fit, how we have a connection, how we take the work serious, what the manager asks for us, and to bring off the field. I think we have a big staff. They're watching a lot of video to get him prepared for the other team. And at the end, the transition moment can be good. I think we just need to be a killer in some time. And if you score, if you're in front 3-0, it's more easy than 2-0, because in 2-0 you have still this little hope. And we know in football the game is just finished when the referee whistle. I think you need to kill the hope really quick, so you get more control out of the game. If you don't do that, you need to suffer till the end.
So that's the mentality that Breel Embolo brings to the table. And then Jason also asked him about his mentality, and in addition to what he brings to the table, then he was asked about the mentality that he brings to all of his action on a daily basis. So here's that answer.
No, the heading I have is to first to adapt to the team, to my team. I think.
Unless, of course, let's see, did I play the wrong soundbite? Did I play the wrong soundbite, guys? Did I flip this here? Hang on just a second.
To Germany and to France.
Here we go. Here's the adapting soundbite.
MLS. In those other moves, what did you find was the hardest thing about adapting to a new league, and what have you learned from those that you helped to bring here?
Language, mentality, and the person. I think you need to adapt where you move. Both sides, but that's not really a big problem for me. I'm lucky that I'm speaking a little bit some language, so it's a little bit easier to adapt in a group. Yes, of course, in Germany, let's say it's about mentality. What is a little bit different as in French, because they're a little bit easygoing. So, but both league, a lot of great players, a lot of quality, different but a lot of quality. So it helped me as a person, as a player, to play with a lot of great players and to compete in this league. And I hope that now with 29, I hope I'm not old, because it's funny that I'm here and speak about experience, because I'm not feeling like that. But I think it's a part of the process, so it's getting there more and more. And to bring really the experience to, I'm a little bit a calm leader, let's say. I'm not like, let's say, compare now to Chaka, because like captain, one guy is always screaming. I really more chill and see the positive things. And that's my way to see the things.
So, I did flip the sound bites, but you get the picture, what he brings, the adaptation that he has had to bring to each of his locations and in each one of his gigs, and what he brings to the table. So that is your nutshell of Breel Embolo and what he brings to the table as the new Atlanta United striker. So once again, waiting on paperwork, so we'll see what happens. I think the word came out that it was a week to 10 days. I think that was what they were mentioning yesterday. So obviously we'll keep an eye on that. And now that he is in the fold, we have and we get to see how he integrates up top. And we'll see what it looks like coming up over the next little bit. All right, getting into what happened. We can do one. Well, actually, tell you what. Yeah, let's get into what happened last night. Let's go Leagues Cup. We'll go Leagues Cup, and then we'll go off the field stuff because there was some interesting back and forth that happened yesterday in Seattle. The 4:00 press conference that we were talking about yesterday was Brian Schmetzer, Craig Weibel introducing Dejan Joveljic. And so we have some of that. And we also have an interview that Brian Schmetzer did on local radio describing everything that went into this, because this was a $6 million deal. So technically you could do the Lee Majors, $6 million man bit. We got the technology, we can rebuild him. I would anticipate that that's going to happen in Seattle. You'll see Dejan Joveljic running in like Rave Green warm-ups or whatever, and Soto, and heading to the stadium and all that kind of stuff. And if they don't, it's a missed opportunity. Dun, 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 dun. You have that with Dejan Joveljic instead. Although I don't know who the Jamie Summers alike would be from the Bionic Woman. I don't know what that would be, but we'll figure it out. So we've got sound out of Austin because they introduced their new CSO, and Minnesota, apparently they were kind of shocked that he was interested, but they were rewarded financially. We'll get into that. So we got a stop in Austin. We got a lot in Seattle. Because like I said, we'll hear from Dejan Joveljic and Craig Weibel. And we'll also hear separately from Brian Schmetzer. We've got that. Then we got all the Leagues Cup stuff that we'll get into from last night. 2 matches, and the first one was in Bridgeview with Chicago and with Monterrey. So the Ugo Kuipers Bowl, the Revenge Bowl, was up and running in Bridgeview. And it was a back and forth affair, as we had kind of anticipated it would, and it went down to the end and a moment. And I'm not kidding, it was a moment. Here's your highlights: Evan Weston, Dax McCarty on the call, Apple TV, and Leagues Cup.
Arteaga cross, flying header is in. Victor Guzman. Monterrey push and finally take the lead just before halftime, 1-0. Great defending though from Ocampos, then it's given away. Ball through the lines, Gutman, cut back, Tinkernaga! It's Big Zink to the rescue! And the Chicago Fire tie it up at 1. And Little Zink on the way. How about that?
He's just failed to take advantage of some of those important moments. Let his quality pass letting him down.
Monterrey's turn. Ocampos slows, turns, shoots, it's blocked. Coming out to Pineda. Orbelin Pineda! Oh my! Orbelin Pineda! Sensational golazo! Monterrey 2, Chicago 1!
The definition of a golazo from Orbelin Pineda. You turn the ball over in your own attacking half. And Ocampos driving at the back line. This is magic from Pineda. Skill you cannot teach. You see Joel Waterman makes the block and is screaming to step out because a player of his quality can absolutely punish you.
And Orbelin Pineda certainly did that. Pineda's goal, catching it off the bounce and then half volley, was ridiculous. And so you end up with Monterrey making their way through, and they are one of the semifinalists. The other semifinalists will catch up with in a bit, and it wasn't that close. We'll get into why. So after the match, Greg Berhalter was asked about what happened in the match in and of itself. And for our post-game reaction, we go to Vejlo and Patrick Idasiak. And Greg Berhalter was not satisfied. He said that the opponent was not particularly better, but his players performed below expectations. Quote, I think the way they defend always makes it difficult, meaning Monterrey. But with that in mind, I think we'll look back on this match and regret how we played. I also think we have too many players on the pitch who are underperforming. You can't beat a team like Monterrey when we play like that. So I spoke to the team, and I think we let ourselves down. It's really that simple. If you ask me, was that a much better team? The answer would be no. But they won and moved on, not us. That's what I mean when I say we'll look back on this match and regret how we played. Then he emphasized the good marking of the defenders, but also how the position of Lewandowski changed as a result. As a result of how Monterrey played, he would run away from the penalty area. Didn't get many chances. Actually, maybe none except for one slide tackle where he did not reach the ball. And that's the wording from Idasiak. We'll go over the numbers in a second. Quote, I think if you look at their center backs, they were following them all over the pitch. Lewandowski was opening up space for other players. Sometimes when you're playing under pressure where the action is so fast and everyone's marking everyone else, it's hard to move the ball into good positions. It's hard to get the ball into the final third calmly, so everything has to happen quickly. Every pass has to be accurate, and we just lack that today. I wasn't happy with how we positioned him, meaning Lewandowski. I wasn't happy with the way we tried to get into the box, and as a result, Lewandowski didn't get any chances. So I think what that is, instead of not being happy with Lewandowski, I think it's not being happy with how Lewandowski was being forced into places that he should not have been in that match going up against Monterrey. So I think the headline and the soundbite or the quote from Greg Berhalter are two different things. And so I think it was more on the other players not getting freer to give Lewandowski a chance to activate than it was not being happy with Lewandowski. So I think that's probably the better way to look at things. So yesterday, just to give you an idea, in the loss to Monterrey, we'll go over Lewandowski's numbers here. And just to give you an idea, first and foremost, here was the starting lineup for Chicago. Chris Brady in net, who I think escaped a red card. It wasn't necessarily violent conduct with the moment that happened that kind of was late first half that led to the first goal. But I don't think it was violent conduct because, literally his arm is in the air and he's trying to, with momentum and everything, try to clear a ball. I don't think it was violent conduct. A violent conduct VAR review read. It wasn't that. Andrew Gutman, and it was at the back. You end up with Jack Elliott, Joel Waterman, and the little ball of hate, Johnny Dean. Midfield, Orahel, De Avila, and Saletros, with John A., Lewandowski, and Zinkernagel. A lot of folks, you had Andrew Gutman a 7.6 with a yellow. De Avila had a 7.4 before he was subbed out. Saletros a 7.2. Zinkernagel, obviously, with the goal, had an 8.2. Robert Lewandowski punched a 6.1. The grading from FOTMOB, 90 minutes, 15 of 23 passing at 65%. He only had 32 touches. One successful dribble, 6 passes into the final third. 2 times he was dispossessed. Obviously, no defensive contributions, but he did win 5 of 7 duels, and he was fouled 4 times. So that's a fairly inactive day, and you know that Lewandowski's not going to help you defensively all that much. But literally, it was 32 touches, 15 of 23 passing, 1 dribble, 6 passes into the final thirds, and he was dispossessed twice. That's kind of quiet. Everyone around him, fairly active. Like I said, about Zinkernagel, Saletros, De Avila, Andrew Gutman obviously becoming active, going up the left-hand side as he always does, but a very quiet night for Lewandowski. So I can definitely understand where Greg Berhalter is coming from when he's looking at how everyone else was positioning themselves and not giving Lewandowski the opportunity to create. But by the end of the night, Orbelín Pineda with a gorgeous goal late in the final 10 minutes. So in a back-and-forth match, Monterrey moves on, and they would get the winner of the late game, RSL and León. And frankly, this wasn't even close. It was not even close. So here's your highlights of RSL and León, Team 28 versus Team 30. And we'll go over the details here in just a little bit. Once again, courtesy of our friends at Apple TV and Leagues Cup, it was Max and Dunny on the call for this one.
Handled by the very crafty Ivan Moreno.
And one thing Max to always keep an eye on is this is a team with 2 red cards conceded in the last 2 matches against Necaxa.
Another great play there by Arcila. Comes in, and it's in! Gambino! Magnificent from León, who have been that way this entire tournament, covering 40 yards for the opening goal. Diver Gambino.
Well, again, that right-hand side is where the goal ultimately ends up finding the back of the net. But it's a big breakdown. And the speed and athleticism, along with the intelligence from León, showcasing how quickly and efficiently, little cut ball, Arcilo finds the overlap, and the first-time ball back across.
Another good ball, and that one's in! Sebastián Vegas! To perhaps put it out of reach for La Fiera! One too many corner kicks for Real Salt Lake to concede.
Well, it's not just corner kicks, it's corners, it's set pieces, it's early balls swung in, it's variations to the end line. León, they have been monsters, winning every ball in the air, both offensively and defensively.
This winning streak alive if it remains intact over the next 20 minutes. Gambino all the way through. Rafa Cabral off his line. Late Gambino! ¡Qué clase de jugador! Another massive counterattack. And that's the nail in the coffin. Diver Gambino, 3-0.
What a night for the 30-year-old to show up for León. Did not score in any of the 3 matches in the wins against Nashville, Orlando City, or Inter Miami. That was all Arcila and Cortizo. But tonight, the Colombian striker has been fantastic, spearheading the attack for León. Mismanagement.
And so, yeah, it wasn't that close. It wasn't. And it was a completely and totally rotated side for Pablo Mastroeni and RSL heading into this matchup. Just to give you an idea, here's what the lineup was. In net, it was Rafa Cabral was in net. Backline, Sanabria, Philip Quinton, Lucas Engel, and DeAndre Yedlin. Midfield was Diego Luna, Caliscan, Spearings, and Sergi Solans. Then you had Guy Lavogui up top with Saba Lobjanidze. It was rotated. So sitting, you had Pablo Ruiz, who came in the 27th, obviously, because of an injury to Spearings. I mean, you can keep an eye on that when it comes to your midfield for RSL. Kobe Henry came in with 30 to go. Catranis came in the 73rd. Hezerkani and Marchuk came in, and so it was a triple change with 17 minutes to go. And then on the bench, you kept Arias, Junqua, Moisa, Lineker, and Olatunji. So you kept a lot of your heavyweights on the bench that were not substituted in at any point. No one on the starting 11 for RSL registered above a 7 in FOTMOB. Saba registered at 5.8. Solans a 6. Caliscan a 5.8. Diego Luna only a 6.5. Rafa Cabral, who had to make that choice on the late goal, he came charging out, and it would have been a nasty tackle if that had connected. But Cabral comes out, Play goes around, end up with goal number 3. Gilavogi had a 6.9. Saba had a 5.8. Just to give you an idea on the stats. Total shots, 19-12 to Leon. Shots on target, 8-6. RSL had one more touch in the opposition, 18, 23, 22. 3 big chances. They did not miss a one, meaning Leon. 1 big chance for RSL, and they missed theirs. 3 yellow cards, 2 to RSL, 11 corners, 8 of them to Leon. And we mentioned the shot numbers. Obviously, shots on target, 8-6. Blocked shots, 8-1. 1 hit the woodwork. Shots inside the 18, 12, 7 to Leon, and then 7-5, obviously, outside the box. Defensively, 15 tackles to 9, 6 picks to 4. RSL had more blocks, 8-1. More clearances, 27-21. 6 saves for Leon, 5 saves for Cabral on the night. And obviously, your highest-rated player was Fernando Beltran, who went the full 90. 2 assists, 2 defensive contributions, 2 shots, both on target, 8 chances created, punched to 9.4. Highest-rated player for RSL was Pablo Ruiz. And I'm going 3, 6, 9, 10 to the 11th rated player on the match. And Ruiz only played 63 minutes. So he was the 11th highest rated player in the rankings on the evening. That's the first register for RSL on the night. That's how out of whack this game was. 3-0 final, and like I said, it wasn't that close. So Leon gets the Duke there. They move on. Monterrey got the Duke in the early game. They move on. And so that's where we are with those two. Now you have the 2 matches today in Leagues Cup. And getting into the juice boxes, once again, it's early activity. And then you have the top-ranked team in Toluca. They get to have a home game later on in the evening. It's like an 8:30 and a 10:45 tonight, by the way. 8:30 and 10:45 for these two. And just to give you an idea on the juice boxes, by the way, the Liga MX teams were both underdogs yesterday. Sure. But Club Leon ended up as a massive line mistake. RSL was a plus 131, and this one was in Denver, Commerce City. It wasn't in RSL. It was in Commerce City, Colorado. So Club Leon at a plus 175 gets the 3-0 win. RSL was a plus 131. Monterrey, a 2-1 winner at a plus 167 in Bridgeview, which at times could be a home game, who knows, for Chicago Fire, who is a plus 133. So both underdogs, both Liga MX sides, both got the wins. Today, both of those teams, the Liga MX sides, are favored, and they're heavy favorites. Toluca is a minus 167 at home, going up against Austin FC in the early game at 8:30. Austin is a plus 403, and the 90-minute draw is a plus 280. So that's your early game, and that one is it's in the, and it's not even in the Estadio Nemesio Diaz. It's in New Jersey. So that turf at New Jersey continues to get chewed up for both Red Bulls and Gotham, adding these to that mix. Apple TV 2 to NA, FS1, and Unimas. Top-ranked Toluca hosting Austin in New Jersey at SI Stadium. Reserving comment. 10:45-ish, which probably means more like 10:55, back into the doubleheader. Team 3, Club America and Columbus. And this one is not at the Estadio Azteca. It's in Carson, California at Dignity Health Sports Park. So that surface continues to get chewed up for LAG and everybody else that wanders onto it. So your quarterfinals today a Liga MX side and a team from Austin, Texas playing in New Jersey, and a team that could be playing at the Estadio Azteca, or we could be playing at Scotts Miracle Grove Field. You're playing in Los Angeles. Got it. And then obviously we'll dip back into Major League Soccer tomorrow. Nico Moreno is going to join us, and we'll discuss Seattle and everything in the Western Frontier. He'll come on at 10:30. Our buddy Nino Torres is going to join us at 10 o'clock. And we're also going to catch up with Georgia Gwinnett College, since they were highly ranked, top 25, both the men's and the women's sides. We're catching up with them on Thursday and Friday. And in hour number 1 tomorrow, we're going to start our look at Georgia Gwinnett as their top 25 team gets underway in the NAIA schedule. So we'll catch up with Georgia Gwinnett in hour 1 and the Power Hour in hour number 2 with Nino and Nico. Anyway, digress. Preview. Going back to what's happening tonight, obviously, Toluca and Austin is your early game. Then you have Laurent Courtois. He was asked about the matchup heading into Carson, California, to take on Club America. So here's Laurent Courtois pre-match, MD -1.
Well, it's a historic club. They play home today. We know they have not only really technical and collective group, but they also have individualities that really are dangerous, but also they really intense in the way they defend. So we're playing pretty much the best team of Mexico right now, and we ready.
You have to back up and support this. So Columbus has shown a very different side in League Cup than its current form in MLS. What changes mentally for the team when you're about to play a knockout match?
Yeah, so we had a really bad game against Montreal, but I felt that overall we were consistent in the style of play and the way we carried ourselves. But conceding a goal early in the scenario that we put ourselves in the MLS, it's tough to switch. And we in a phase where we lost not only important guys, but we integrating new ones that are also in the preseason mode or need time to build chemistry and get to know the system and each other. So, and then we playing a team that are full in their full rhythm. So yeah, it certainly shows that type of picture, but we just try to maintain a direction when we want game after game to perform in type of way and slowly adding different pieces and get players at the same page, fitness-wise and tactically and so on. So, but yeah, it's been kind of two phases.
And that's Laurent Courtois as they got ready for their matchup tonight, going up against my brain is completely fried. Going up against Club America in Carson, California. Yes, that's what I was making fun of, Carson, California. So that is a bit of Laurent Courtois at the MD -1 as they're getting ready for the nightcap tonight, 10:45, which is more like 10:55. So we'll see what happens there in that matchup. Once again, large underdogs tonight, both MLS sides. So we'll see what happens with those two. Now, also with that, and I'm going to sit there and figure out, all right, crossing things off of my list. All right, so that and all of those and that and that. And, okay, now getting into what happened yesterday off the field. Had a couple of different press conferences. And like I said, the one that we had teased yesterday had to do with 4 o'clock Seattle, Washington. And we were all trying to figure out, okay, what in the wide world of sports is going on here? It turned out that it was the introduction of Dejan Joveljic to the Seattle media. It's his first practice session, so he comes in. He's wearing the practice moisture wicking shirt. He's all dialed up and ready to go. And so to the assembled media, Dejan Joveljic and Craig Weibel answering questions about the journey of Dejan Joveljic from Sporting Kansas City to Seattle, as Seattle is trying to stop a losing streak that has had them just drop completely and totally in the Western Conference. So here is Dejan Joveljic and Craig Weibel answering the Inquisition yesterday afternoon in Seattle.
Why Seattle? Right, I know you probably had other teams, but why specifically the Seattle Sounders and Brian Smetzer? What are those two things and why you came here?
To be honest, after our first conversation together, after a few minutes, first of all, I said, I'm giving you my word that I'm going to come to Seattle. And when you say Seattle, you mean winning. This team has been always in top positions. This team wins trophies, and then connection with the coach. He's a well-known coach in this league, experienced. He won a lot of games, a lot of trophies, and I'm just here to help, to score, and to bring trophy where it belongs.
All right, we'll come down to the first row. I know there's a number of questions. We'll go to Jeremiah first, and then Nico after that, and then Jackson. Go ahead, Jeremiah.
Yeah, Dejan, welcome to Seattle. How would you describe your game, and what do you think you can bring that's maybe a little different than what the Sounders already have?
I'm here to bring goals and to help win the games. I'm the striker who works hard, who is helping the team in every possible way. I can score with left, right, head, doesn't matter. If Seattle is playing the way we played last couple of years, I'm gonna score a lot of goals, and I'm sure and I'm ready for it.
Nico.
I'm Nico Moreno, Center Harposo Sports. The question's for Craig. This obviously was a very difficult deal to pull off, and part of that was extending or trying to reconstruct Albert's contract. Just wanted to see if you could shed some light on those conversations and what his new contract might look like, and the reason why you did all that specifically to get this DP for your team.
Yeah, look, we have a lot of great people in our locker room. Albert being one of them, and you know, Albert is a lot like Decky. These guys think about football first, and so you know, Albert was not going to. We weren't going to get in a conversation about reconstructing his deal without a player coming in that was going to be impressive for him, one that he felt was going to help us win and lift trophies. And so, you know, when I approached Albert, told him what we were trying to pull off, what we were aiming to pull off, and the ambition of what we were trying to do here, became a little bit better momentum there. It always takes a while, but look, Albert deserves a lot of praise for the way he's gone about the last 7 to 9 days as well, in order to construct a deal that made sense for him and his family, that made sense for the club, and also made sense for us to be able to move and bring Dejan in. So compliments to him, and it goes back to the quality. It goes back to the quality of human Albert is. It goes to the quality of human that Decky is, because I know they've spoken. And I know that they chatted a bit in the middle there, and again, I think Albert's a tough guy to impress. So in order to do this, there was a lot of work that went into it, but he deserves a lot of credit for making it happen.
Craig Weibel and Dejan Joveljic to the assembled media yesterday, and the why, and I thought it was important to include Nico's question. Obviously, we'll circle back with Nico on it tomorrow about the restructuring or addressing the contract of Albert Rusnak as a part of this, because when it came to the amount of money under the cap, I'm imagining that Seattle, they always want to get right to the edge. And so how do you navigate that? You bring in a new DP, and you're trying to juggle all of that. to bring him in, fix a DP deal, and make sure that everything fits under the cap and that you're not drawing the ire of the league when it comes to your math, like some other teams have done in the past. Then later in the afternoon, Brian Schmetzer went on afternoon radio in Seattle. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tell you the name of the show, and everyone can have their sophomoric laughter and giggles and be, Beavis and Butthead about it. But it is the Softy and Dick Show from KJR 93.3 FM. I'm not kidding. It's Softy and Dick. Go ahead and get your laughs in. You get all your yucks in. And for those that do not know, it is the afternoon drive of KJR 93.3. Dave Softy Mailer, he has been an institution in Seattle radio for as long as I can remember. And Dick Fain, so Softy and Dick, instead of Dave and Dick, because Softy's been there forever. So Dave Softy Mailer and Dick Fain were visited by Brian Schmetzer after the press conference in the afternoon. And so they wanted to know about the $6 million and how it all fit together, because that legitimately is not chump change. How do you make a deal come together with $6 million as the price tag? And it was a question that they had asked more than once in the 10 minutes that they got with Brian Schmetzer. And Brian Schmetzer, he knows the drill. So he played along and with some of the yucks in the afternoon drive. But here is his longer answer on how, and this is a bit of a back and forth among Softy and Dick and Brian, about how it all came together and what the $6 million means, because that was the figure that was announced. Here's their back and forth.
Well, it's funny, how things change in life. Craig tells a story like, when we asked a couple months ago, they said, heck no chance, no, there's no way. And, then we kept bugging him. Like, he kept checking in, and finally they said, well, maybe. And then we jumped on maybe, Craig jumped on maybe, and we were able to negotiate a deal. I think there was some movement on their part because their new ownership group is spending a lot of money, and the new general manager, these were the last players from the old coach Peter Vermes that he brought in, and maybe the new general manager just wanted to, clean slate, just to get everybody out and make it his team.
Well, Brian Schmetzer's with us, talking about the game coming up on Saturday with Chicago, brand new player from Kansas City, and Dejan Joveljic. And I'm just wondering, Brian, how this works. I mean, it's funny it's Kansas City, because if you ever saw the movie Casino, you'll know that Kansas City is as far as the mob got to Vegas before the Feds started moving in, so they set up shop in Missouri. So do you have a guy with like a briefcase full of cash handcuffed to his hand, gets on a plane, goes to Kansas City, drops off the dough, and goes home? Is it just a straight cash deal? GAM money, TAM money, general allocation money? Does it come from different circles, different pies, or different pools? Or is this just a straight $6 million to Kansas City for Dejan?
I know there were some other things factored into it, and I know even Adrian at his level was talking to the owners of Kansas City. Okay. So it's $6 million in total value, cash. There's some GAM. There's some other things in there. We were desperate to get Joveljic, and we even offered players. I mean, there was a lot of talk going back and forth how to get this deal over the line, which included trading player for player.
Okay, can you tell us who you thought about trading?
Well, we've got a bunch of young, talented players, and Kansas City said, well, you guys are in an 8-game losing streak. We don't want any of your players. Oh, my God, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Oh, my.
Yeah, so that was, I get it. But I don't know if you want to. I don't know if you want to play along that well. I don't know if you want to do that. I mean, look, I get what afternoon drive is there to do. And I left the punchline in there on purpose. But that was the exchange that was had among Softy and Dick and Brian. I don't know if you want that whole punchline at the end. I don't know, unless you're, and I know that Brian can be self-deprecating at times. I don't know how well that punchline was received. Because then you're going to have some folks who are going to look at the roster who are fans and go, well, see, one of those kind of things. But the key part of that exchange is the $6 million, and it is apparently from every pot imaginable. But and Brian says that some of this, some of this, some of this. The release from Seattle in and of itself said $6 million in a cash for player trade. So it does not go into what Brian did when it came to all of the other pots and Adrian Hanauer having a discussion with the ownership of Sporting Kansas City. So my guess is $6 million value in kind, up to $6 million with, Garber bucks and cash and all these kinds of things. So I'm imagining that it is something of a bunch of different pots and pools to make the $6 million figure. And like I said, if they're not going to buy in to the whole Lee Majors thing, we can rebuild it. We have the technology. That you're missing a promo opportunity. 107 career all-comp goals, 3 league championships, 11 professional seasons. Serbian international, 6 seasons in MLS, 71-23 with SKC and LAG. Getting 2024 MLS Cup, 39 goals in MLS regular season and postseason play in 24-25, ranked 3rd league-wide, behind only Lionel Messi and Denny Bouanga. 4-year deal with the Sounders through June of 30, with a club option for June of 31. Serbian international holds a U.S. green card. He does not occupy an international roster spot. Club's 19th overall DP since they joined MLS. In order to remain roster compliant, Albert Rusnak has restructured his current agreement with the club. So that was the Nico question in this. And that was why you bring that into the discussion. So through June of 30, club option for 31, $6 million, and listed by the club as cash for player, listed by Brian Schmetzer in the interview on Seattle radio as a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a lot of this. So we'll see how it all plays out, but that was what Brian Schmetzer said, in addition to what was released by the club. So that is the situation now. And like I said, we'll get more from Nico Moreno tomorrow when he joins us last half hour of the show. And we'll break it all down for you there when it comes to the latest with Dejan Joveljic and where Major League Soccer teams are chasing the window. Europe has about another week. So if anybody wants to do anything with a European club, you got a boogie. So we'll see what happens there. And we'll get into the transfer news and all of the reports coming up here in hour number 2. But that is the biggest piece of information that we got yesterday, where the club said $6 million for cash for player. Brian Schmetzer says little bit here, a lot here. So it seems like everything adds up to $6 million from Brian Schmetzer's perspective, where the club just says $6 million cash for player. So once again, truth probably somewhere in the middle. So now that Dejan Joveljic is there in Seattle, now they get to focus on what's going on with them. Yesterday in Austin, Khaled Alamat was named Chief Soccer Officer and Sporting Director with Austin FC. He comes from being CSO and Sporting Director at Minnesota United, European Football City Football Group. He gets to oversee all functions of Austin FC's soccer operations. including roster construction and management, scouting and recruitment, player development, and the club's complete player pathway. Say that 10 times fast. Club's complete take 3. Club's complete player pathway from academy through Los Verdes to the first team, and he reports directly to Austin FC CEO Andy Lofton. He gets to lead the sporting leadership group, working closely with Andrew DeLallo, Dean Costales, and Ethan Finley as they continue to build, and this is from the club, continue to build a modern integrated soccer operation structure. Jim Curtin, previously announced as Austin FC's next head coach, reports directly to El Ahmad when he joins the club following the conclusion of Austin FC's 2026 season. El Ahmad will work closely with Curtin to establish a shared sporting vision and create an environment where coaching, recruitment, and player development are fully aligned. I don't know if we are to take that they are not or were not heading into this situation and hire. Quote from Anthony Precourt in the release yesterday, quote from El Ahmad, and it was 3 sentences going forward. Played in the youth system of his hometown club, Sirius FK, before moving to the U.S. and playing at Wisconsin Milwaukee. Early in his career, coaching, scouting, recruitment, data analysis roles in the U.S. and Scandinavia, head of recruitment for Djurgården, Swedish Cup final in 2013, joined City Football Group as the organization's scouting lead for CONCACAF in Scandinavia. Supported roster construction recruitment for NYCFC in the period leading up to their MLS Cup in 2021. 6 years with City Football Group, International Scouting Recruitment Network contributed to roster building efforts across the organization. Barnsley in 2021, CEO and sporting director. Qualified for the EFL League One playoffs. Promotion playoff final, Wembley 23. Returned to MLS December 23, went to Minnesota United. El Ahmad and his staff placed a strong emphasis on player development, collaborative recruitment, and creating sustainable value within the roster. Tani Olwashe developed into a first-team contributor before Minnesota transferred him to Villarreal. Club also acquired defender Anthony Marcanic in 2024 for $50,000 in GAM. MBA, International Business, Wisconsin, Milwaukee. Has a sports management leadership diploma from Örebro in Sweden. FA Level 5 technical director. So he got to face the assembled crowd yesterday. And a Blaze visit, blah, 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 blah. You're blocked. A Blaze visitation, blocked. So El Ahmad answered questions yesterday from the assembled folks. And here is part of that press conference in Austin, Texas. Khalil El Ahmad, new CSO, and more duties for him in Austin, Texas.
It's a lot of compliments thrown at me very quickly. First and foremost, super excited to have the opportunity to wear green and be part of this club, the community. Super excited that I have my beautiful wife and 2 girls here, so thank you as always for your support. For me, the most important thing, and both Anthony and Andy touched on it, is come to a place where I believe there's potential. Your history is brief but really exciting. You've had ups and downs. Over the last days that I've had the opportunity to come here and try to remember 1,000 names, I'm super impressed with the people, the welcome we've received, and it just, I just want to get going. I'm quite excited to keep meeting everyone and really aligning the club from top to bottom to make sure we achieve great things. And I've said this from day one, from when we first spoke. For me, there's only one thing, and that is Austin FC. There is no first team, there's no second team, there's no academy, there's no business, there's no sports. We're all one club, one color, one tree. And I hope during my tenure, everyone gets to feel that, because I think that's my main responsibility, is to get everyone to push in the right direction. When we do that, winning will come. I'm a big believer that if we all do our part every day, look for the marginal gains, we will be here one day with a big trophy. So yeah, super excited. Thank you both. Thank you for all the employees, not just for what you've done in this interim period, but essentially from day one when you came to Austin. So thank you for having me.
All right, so Kalal Ahmad is the new technical director and CSO in Austin. Andy Greeter came up with yesterday afternoon when all this was announced. Sports writer for the St. Paul Pioneer Press. Greeter put out on his reportage and all of his social media. Austin FC reportedly paid, quote, a huge amount of compensation to Minnesota United to bring Khalid El Ahmad to Austin. Under a multi-year deal with Minnesota, granted Austin permission to interview him, but they still expected him to remain with the Loons. Minnesota CEO Christina Harrington said the club was, quote, very surprised by the outcome. Pioneer Press also confirmed that Austin previously requested permission to interview FC Cincinnati CSO Chris Albright, but Cincinnati declined. So that was how Khalil Al Ahmad ended up in Austin. Interesting to see how that will play out. News out of Austin this morning, literally in the last minute. Sporting Kansas City has acquired Owen Wolff from Austin. Deal is $4.5 million plus $3.1 million in add-ons in cash trade, largest for a U22 initiative player in the history of the rule. 7+7 last year, 147 first-team apps viewed as one of the league's best young midfielders. Long in the works before Khalid El Ahmad was the new sporting director. So Owen Wolff now goes to Austin from Sporting Kansas City. So that is now out this morning as we have all of that stuff working forward. So, yeah, I have no idea what that is. All right, so that is off the field. We'll get into on the field in a second, but I did want to bring up this piece of news from this morning, and it has to do with FIFA and UEFA. Rob Harris from Sky is a very, very busy man, and he just happens to be in Monaco, keeping an eye on UEFA and FIFA and finding out what the latest is with the two of them. And here is Rob's report this morning. This happened just before we went on the air. And here is Rob's report about the latest with UEFA keeping an eye on FIFA and where things can go from here. So once again, here's Rob Harris in Monaco, courtesy of our friends at Sky News.
European nations are set to withdraw their threat to boycott FIFA competitions, but are discussing other protests against Gianni Infantino's ongoing but embattled leadership. Sky News understands this is the latest development. Let's get more details with our sports correspondent, Rob Harris. Rob, what do you know?
Well, UEFA leaders are meeting here in Monaco. It was a month ago that they threatened to boycott FIFA competitions unless Gianni Infantino abandoned plans to try to sell shares in the World Cup. That did happen. They also wanted assurances that, as they put it, he would never try to disfigure the game in such a way again. Sky News understands that UEFA is set to lift its boycott of FIFA competitions. It clears the way for England's young Lionesses to take part in the Under-20 Women's World Cup next week in Poland. And the reason this decision, we believe, will be taken is because there have been some assurances received by UEFA that, as in their words, FIFA wouldn't attempt to disfigure the game in such a way again by trying to launch such a venture to sell off shares in the World Cup. UEFA is still opposing Infantino's ongoing leadership of FIFA. It's unclear what mechanisms that they will still be pursuing to challenge his leadership. They have threatened legal action and demanded that all those at FIFA do keep all their correspondence relating to this venture they tried to launch with the brother of the son-in-law of Donald Trump, as this civil war does still grip football, particularly here in Monaco, as European football leaders are meeting ahead of the new season launch for the men's game. Still, UEFA, along with their counterparts from the Asian and North American confederations, pushing for a change of president at FIFA, all building up to the election next March, a deadline in November for candidates to come forward. Still no clear anti-Infantino candidate has been brought to the table, but certainly they are strategizing in and around UEFA. The first tactic they deployed was warning of a boycott by European nations of FIFA competitions. One issue was that would have meant that the young girls would have been impacted at a tournament that doesn't really have much visibility really about youth development. So it means that England and the other teams can plan now for that tournament to take place in Poland next month. It is a stage for Gianni Infantino to show he is leading FIFA if he does go to the tournament in Poland at a time when he's also touring various member associations around the world. Our very own James Matthews caught up with him in Dominican Republic last weekend, where he was visiting the Caribbean Football Union, trying to talk up how he's been investing in the game, helping them during his decade in charge, very much using money as the way of saying why he should stay in power from a scandal and controversy that was all about money, with his claims that he'd raise a lot more money for the FAs all around the world if they approved of this scheme, which would have seen 20% of the World Cup sold off to private investors. And there's still so much anger here at UEFA, who said that the World Cup should never be for sale. We've seen a lot of tensions over the years between UEFA and FIFA. This is the latest manifestation, but the most serious. But they have lifted, Sky News understands, or they will set to lift, that threat of boycotting FIFA competitions. And we wait to hear what those assurances might be that they have received that have allowed them to do so.
Rob Harris in Monaco. From The Guardian, Nick Ames and Matt Hughes as a part of that this morning also. And from them, they understand European teams likely to be cleared for competition in the upcoming U20 Women's World Cup, along with subsequent tournaments, after FIFA provides the binding assurances no equivalent of its president's, and this is Ames and Hughes' words, ill-fated scheme will be put on the table. UEFA had threatened a boycott after the FFE proposal was revealed and doubled down after it was withdrawn, saying that the condition that, quote, such attempts to disfigure the game in this way will never be made again. That was what you heard from Rob Harris. And despite the back and forth, UEFA and FIFA understood to have had private discussions over the terms of removing the boycott threat for several weeks, with the European governing body finally getting the reassurances it required. Then when FIFA confirmed its decision to abandon FFE 4 days after it became public, it neglected to pledge that a similar privatization plan would not be repeated, but has now done so in private correspondence. Decision to drop the boycott allows England, who named their squad for the U20s, to travel to Poland in time for the opening match against Canada on September 5th. France and Spain had also listed their traveling party in anticipation that the boycott would be lifted. Portugal, Italy, and the host nation are the other European countries due to compete. The FIGC has come out in the last 15 minutes and withdrawn their support for Gianni Infantino, according to multiple sources in Europe. While the boycott is yet to be publicly dropped, among the topics that may arise in the executive committee and federation chief meeting where Rob Harris is today, 55 heads of UEFA convening before Champions League draw, and it's usually a significant couple of days for Europeans' football calendar. UEFA position Infantino must be replaced has not changed. Further steps regarding the stance toward the FIFA leadership will also be discussed, and the FIGC had publicly withdrawn their support for Infantino, and they had a statement to that effect. There will be relief in some quarters that younger players in particular will not become embroiled in the volatile battle for football's future. This is once again Ames' words at The Guardian. FIFA has been forced actions as another humiliation for the persistently scandal-hit organization. So that is word out of The Guardian this morning, involving the executive committee meeting that is going on with UEFA in Monaco. So that is up and running this morning as well. So we have gone past the hour mark, and I have become incredibly remiss here at the at the Kaiser Permanente studios that it is time for our hydration break. And our hydration break brought to us by our friends at Local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor Stores. Local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor Stores, thanks for being great partners with us here in 2026. And two locations for you. It is Johns Creek, and it is Cumberland, right at the corner of Cumberland Parkway and Cobb Parkway. If you're an impulse buyer, you're probably going to be in trouble. If you are sent to one of the two locations and, hey, you've got a list, you're probably going to come home with more than just the list. You go wandering in the door, and we had a Saturday morning remote broadcast there during the World Cup. You go wandering in, we were right there at the front door at Cumberland, and you see everything it's like 2 stories, and you go back. And so, yeah, if you get started, you're going to be there a while. But once again, hydrate, everybody. Local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor Stores, thanks for dropping by and being great partners with us here in 2026. Hydrate away. There you go. Okay, so that is the latest involving UEFA and what is going on with their battle with FIFA and the Women's World Cup coming up here the weekend before Labor Day over in Poland. So that was the latest that happened with that, and so obviously we'll keep an eye on all of that as it goes forward with the executive committee meeting in Monaco. All right, let's get into, and you're getting close to the end of the transfer window, and so this means that a lot of stuff is going on, and I mean a lot of stuff. You got players being named to go from one place to the other, and it's like, we're going here, no, he's going here, no, this player's going here. You're getting a lot of that right now. We do have some discussions. We do have some player movement. We do have some discussions. We'll go through our sources here and get you caught up on everything that's going on this morning and where we stand when it comes to anything and everything going on as your favorite club is trying to get to the roster they think they need to get over whatever hump they believe they have to get over and make sure that everything is locked in place for their stretch run, for whatever stretch run we're talking about, whatever league we're talking about, whatever team we're talking about. So let's go through a very, very busy morning, especially overseas, and we will lay it all out for you this way. Leicester City had signed 19-year-old center back Ilari Kangasniemi from Inter Turku in Finland. Fees around €2.5 million. Bolton signed Jaden Nelson from Vancouver. That's officially official, a 4-year deal. It was discussed that it was going to be about $1 million heading back to Vancouver. So we'll see what happens there. But Jaden Nelson now in England with Bolton. Coventry City confirmed center back Ethan Pinnock has joined from Brentford, £5 million plus one. Links with Emi Martinez and Chelsea. Chelsea are considering a move for Emi Martinez, according to David Ornstein. Martinez has been offered to Chelsea following the arrival of Zion Suzuki at Villa Park. Links with Martinez and Chelsea on off all summer, according to Jacobs. Downplayed by Chelsea sources during the preseason. Now a late window debate over whether a new number one is needed. Martinez is open to the move. Mike Penders is viewed as having a big Chelsea future in the long term. Considered earlier in the summer they were content with their keepers. Villa had told Juve they wanted €10 million with the Italian club opting for Guglielmo Vicario instead. So, and there's more to that. Let me grab this really quickly. Involving word out of Argentina. Gaston Edul, quote, "One day after the transfer window is over, you'll know why Emi Martinez's transfer to Juve was collapsed. The only thing I have to say is that when people find out the reason, his status with the Argentina national team will grow even more." The only thing I have to say is that when people find out the reason, his status with the Argentina national team will grow even more. So that is the word from Gaston Edul over the discussions that are going on with Emi Martinez and a possible move to Chelsea. So I can't wait now. With that kind of a tease from Gaston Edul, you can't wait. Lille confirmed Delaney Bach was joined on a season-long loan from Nottingham Forest. There's a photo from yesterday where Bakwa is sitting at a table wearing a jersey, and the pen is hovering over a contract, allegedly, and Bakwa is smiling into the camera. Today he was at practice. Hull City also made an approach. Bakwa chose Lille, given permission to finalize the deal, and they did. Benfica confirmed João Paulinho has joined Bayern on a 4-year contract, deal worth around €20 million. Sheffield Wednesday confirmed Iraq international Ali Al-Hamadi has joined from Ipswich on a season-long loan. Liam Delap is undergoing his medical today ahead of formalizing his Nottingham Forest move from Chelsea. The deal is worth up to £50 million. Crystal Palace confirmed Axel Disasi's joined from Chelsea on a season-long loan. Brentford closing in on signing El Hadji Malik Diouf from West Ham in a deal worth north of £35 million. And Jacobs and Alex Crook have broken that one. Talk on that went back at least 2 weeks. There was a gulf in the valuation 2 weeks ago, not so much anymore. Manchester City confirmed Ayub Bouadi's deal, joining from Lille on a 5-year deal, 95 million euro plus a 5 million fee, so 100 million, which you can budget over the term of the deal. So it only hits you 20 million in the books. Quoting Bouadi, I think here the most important thing is to win. In a big club, you need to win, and this is all we're going to do. We're going to give 100% to achieve all of our goals, end quote. Bournemouth are remaining confident in keeping Alex Scott. Chelsea had a £64 million bid rejected earlier this summer. No fresh contact as of today. Bournemouth have insisted he is not for sale. Chelsea want to add another player if Enzo Fernandez is sold to Manchester City. Could be a midfielder, right-sided attacker, not discounted either, especially if Pedro Neto departs as well. Omar Marmoush has permission to undergo his Spurs medical for Manchester City, loan with an obligation to buy worth £50 million plus 10. Frankfurt's Jean-Matteo Bahoya drawing interest from Fenerbahce and multiple England clubs. Brighton confirmed fullback Joan Hadjam has joined from Young Boys. Understand the fee is £9.5 million. Hadjam has signed a 5-year deal once again. It only breaks at 1.9 across the length of the deal. Brighton informed Liverpool that they wanted £80 million for Yakuba Minte, not a price Liverpool willing to meet. Liverpool wasn't expected to return with a third bid unless the valuation drops. The previous £60 million bid viewed as competitive, but rejected. John Ruddy's going to return to Wolves as their number 3 keeper. He's supposed to sign today. And let's see, the gap in valuation there. Hull City joined the race to sign Toby Collier for Manchester United. Collier spent the second half of the season with the Tigers. West Brom have also held talks. Manchester United favoring a permanent exit. So, a permanent exit for you. So that's the international stuff from round 1 of that. So then we go to David Ornstein. I'm going to say David Ornstein's been busy this morning. And we go back to the top of his order. So once again, the exclusive, once again with Martinez, offered to Chelsea by reps, considering the possibility of signing before the transfer window finishes. Villa's open to an international exit once again once Zion Suzuki came in the door as the number 1. Ornstein and Jacob Tanswell, future at Villa Park uncertain after the move to Juve, did not proceed earlier this month. Marco Bizzo started Sunday's Premier League opener at Brighton. Robert Sanchez started Chelsea's first game of the new season at Fulham, but was at fault for both of the home side's goals in the 3-2 win. For Xabi Alonso, Mike Penders has returned to the club this summer after spending last season on loan at Strasbourg. He was on the bench at Craven Cottage. This summer is the second in succession, according to Ornstein, to see Martinez push for an exit. Manchester United were in discussions last year. They ultimately signed Sene Lammens from Royal Antwerp. Played a leading role in Villa's success again last year, 4th-place Premier League finish, and Europa League success. Champions League for this season. Crucial role for Argentina in the World Cup. 256 appearances joining Arsenal since joining for Villa since joining from Arsenal in September 2020. Departure would add to a significant squad churn this summer, according to Ornstein. That's the word he used. Morgan Rogers, Yuri Tielemans, Ezri Konsa, Luca Digne. They've all departed. So it's been a long goodbye for Emi Martinez, and that's how we get here. So Chelsea has a huge belief in Penders at 21. It's important any immediate upgrade, according to Liam Toomey of The Athletic. Any immediate upgrade on Sanchez does not block Penders' long-term pathway. Pedigree, personality, and if he doesn't cost too much, it could make sense for all parties, according to Toomey, Jacob Tanswell, and David Ornstein. So keep an eye on Emi Martinez over the next week. Buy obligation of $50 million plus 10, $5 million of it guaranteed, 4+1 contract for Marmoush, and no Frankfurt sell-on fee. Ipswich Town close to an agreement with Bayer Leverkusen, according to Ornstein, for Ezekiel Palacios. The latest bid, €22.5 million plus 5. Subject to clubs finalizing the deal with the Bayern midfielder. Sign a 4-year deal to become the first World Cup winner to represent Ipswich Town. So the Tractor Boys trying to bring in a a heavyweight name to try to keep themselves in the Premier League. James Maddison suffered a slight fracture to the shoulder after falling in Spurs' loss to Brentford on Saturday. Scans showed minor damage, and they hope that it only sets him back 10 days to 2 weeks. He trained yesterday, so there is optimism that it's not serious. Latest on Bradley Barcola, Liverpool with key talks with PSG to bring clarity on the transfer. It's like we need to. It's like I have questions. Can we just sit down so I can write this stuff down or record it? I have questions. I need clarity. Important meeting to establish the direction of travel on this move. Committed to joining Liverpool, but they got to work out the numbers. Nico Gonzalez, Newcastle reaching an agreement with Manchester City to sign Nico. 24 years old, 52 million around that, 52 million pounds, 48 million fixed, 4 million add-ons. Spaniards granted permission to take a medical and complete a move to Newcastle. That's Chris Waugh and the Athletic on that one. Once again, Villa has made a bid on Jean-Philippe Mateta, far below what they want, but Villa's interest alongside that and the indicative offer to Milan over Rafa Leao relating to the Ollie Watkins situation, all of that in one place. All of that in one place going on with what you see, all the transactions and all the ins and all the outs and stuff. So that is what you're looking at from David Ornstein. Let's see if there's anything else that has broken this morning from Tom Bogert and how things are domestically after the Owen Wolf transaction that happened earlier this morning. Rangers have agreed to a deal to sign Kevin Kelsey from the Portland Timbers. This had been pursued for a while. 10 plus 3 in just over 1,300 minutes, 22 years old, $13 million fee, plus add-ons and a sell-on percentage. So Kevin Kelsey from Portland to Rangers, $13 million plus. Joined for just $6 million in the winter, so a good piece of business for the Portland Timbers, but you're losing a big cog in your offense. Portland Timbers club record departure surpassing the $12 million for Evander, second most expensive signing in Rangers history, behind Torre Andre Fleu in 2000. So Kevin Kelsey for 13, just a little bit more expensive than Evander at $12 million. So Portland Timbers club record departure fee. And once again for Rangers, second most expensive signing in Rangers history. So he's going to travel to formalize the details and undergo a medical to complete the move once he gets his visa. Portland will be active, according to Bogert, in the final week of the window, but can use up to 4 U22 slots by the winter and will be very aggressive on that front. So there are 2 plus 4. Remember, there are 2 ways to go about things. You can do the 3 DPs and the 3 U22s, or you can do a 2 and 4. And if you do a 2 and 4, that is an extra financial benefit for you from the MLS office when it comes to Garber Bucks and Garber Buck flexibility. If you go the 2 and 4 way, you only have 4. You've got to only 2 DPs and 4 U22s. There's a little bit of added flexibility and some added financial bonus to you if you take that path. So Portland in the 2 plus 4, and they would get the financial benefits of that, and they're getting the money coming in from Rangers. That applies to your cap. So Kevin Kelsey, big move for Rangers and for Portland. I want to see how they fill it now. Really want to see how they fill it now. Catching up with David Lee on the Joveljic trade. David Lee said, "We wrestled with this decision. Ultimately, this transaction is transformational in its capacity to allow us to build a stronger overall roster." Understood. I mean, David Lee had said, once again, the quote that we keep referring to at the beginning of the year, when they didn't have enough players for an entire roster to fill out a game day. David Lee said 12 to 14 new players. And so now you wrestle with this decision about your striker. Opening a DP spot is one of the most valuable ways to improve your roster, maybe the most critical part of the transaction, able to take $3 million in GAM. Roster building perspective, we've got a double-pronged way to improve our roster. Sporting is going to have 3 DPs on the roster by the winter, if not by the end of the summer. active in talks. And remember, they signed Andre Luis, a winger who joined for an initial fee of $18 million this summer. Manu Garcia was bought out to open up a DP slot when they were trying to finish the deal with Luis. Deal to sign Luis is in the top 10 of the most expensive transfers in league history. Sources believe the team has the capacity to spend in a similar profile on each of the final two DP slots if they choose in Kansas City. So Lee sees it as transformational because once again you open up a DP slot. Sporting's going to bring in another center forward. Then once again getting into the Garber Buck idea. GAM can extend your salary caps. Sporting was looking to refill their GAM reserves. When Lee took over, they really didn't have any. And so now they continue to add to it. You get the injection of $3 million. That's a max that a team can convert from a transfer fee into GAM. In an interleague cash trade, according to Bogert, SKC was able to convert the money to GAM. If Joveljic was transferred abroad, the team wouldn't have been able to convert any of it to GAM. And so doing the intra-league transaction is far more beneficial. Growing Pains expected 17 new players arrived. Joveljic was the 16th departure. David Lee had to build out a front office infrastructure from scratch. Moises Mosquera, Blorian, Diego Borges, Emir Karic, Kapita Kapemba, Lasseberg Johnson. David Lee obviously excited about the whole thing. And he knows it's not going to be popular. Lee's vision of the team, SKC is going to have a different profile up top than Joveljic. He wants it to be more than just gathering pieces. Wants to put together puzzle pieces that complement each other. Quote, we want to be ambitious. We want to get the team back to competing for titles in MLS as quickly as we possibly can. We have to be bold and aggressive as we can be. No decision will be off the table from a financial decision. So that is the rundown of the Joveljic deal and what David Lee thought about the whole thing. Obviously, yes, it's a tough one for fans to digest in Kansas City. And now, once again, you've seen Seattle invest all the way up to the ceiling and trying to bring in a striker who is healthy that can help you out. Because navigating all the injuries and all the things, and now you bring in Dejan Joveljic for $6 million, depending on who you believe, if it's cash for player or if you believe what Brian Schmetzer says, and it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a lot of this. Like I said, truth is probably somewhere in the middle as to where $6 million cash for player or a lot of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this to get the $6 million. But either way, not necessarily the most popular thing in Kansas City, but intrigue in Seattle, sense of accomplishment in Seattle that they've got their man, and he'll be up top, and it will be the Bishop trying to get things squared away on that surface at Lumen. So that's kind of where Seattle is. Fee on Jaden Nelson, $1.1 million plus add-ons. Nelson told Austin he wanted to go to Europe. Bolton met the asking price, and they were like, okay, let's go. We got it. You're good. So that was the transaction involving Jaden Nelson. We figured it was around $1 million, but it's 1.1. So I was close. 1.1. That's what we were staring at. Now that is the gossip, the rumor, and the innuendo from our main sources. Let's find out if there's anything else that is going on this morning that we need to keep an eye on when it comes to all the others that are attached. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what the rundown looks like. Julian Alvarez apparently missed ATLUTD training due to a, quote, illness. Barca is set to sign Fenerbahce's keeper Livakovic. Man City confirmed the Buati signing. Spurs and City have agreed on the Marmoush loan. So that's the headlines. So let's get into all of the other trending material. We've been following the saga of Alejandro Balda. who could leave Barca with Manchester United, having shown interest in the left back, according to Nicolas Shearer. Expected direct talks with his agent, Jorge Mendes, which makes it even that much more interesting, about a potential move. Red Devils monitoring Balda's situation due to concerns Luke Shaw won't be able to play 3 games a week in the Premier League and the Champions League. United also inquired about Lewis Hall earlier in the window. Manchester City proposal on Enzo Fernandez. Fabrizio Romano saying it's coming. Agreement to personal terms shouldn't be an issue. Given the green light to proceed, Nicolas Shearer adds Fernandez is pushing for the move. Citizens are confident of completing the deal at €130 million. Villa made an offer for Jean-Philippe Mateta, falls far below what Crystal Palace want. Villa been looking for attacking reinforcements due to Ollie Watkins' uncertain future. Tammy Abraham and Brian Maggio, currently both unavailable because of injuries. Villa also considered making a move for Mateta during the January window. Been involved in a dispute with Palace regarding the last year of his deal. Juve unimpressed with Randall Colomowani's performances since his return to the club, now looking for ATLUTD striker Alexander Sorloth, according to Gazeta. Norway International being favored over Manchester United's Joshua Zirkzee, felt that his characteristics would be a better fit. Nicolas Gonzalez could be used as part of a deal to bring the cost down, especially as the 28-year-old wants to continue with ATLUTD following the expiration of loan. AC Milan winger Rafael Leao remains a target for Galatasaray after Villa withdrew their interest, according to Gazeta. Rossoneri won't budge from their demands of €50 million plus another 10 in bonuses. Though Gala are persisting to try and reach an agreement, don't want to get to certain figures, expected to increase their latest offer on the table. Mentioned Marmoush, Dominic Livakovic to Fenerbahce, arrived in Barcelona Tuesday undergoing a medical. PSG and Liverpool talking on Bradley Barcola. We mentioned Nico Gonzalez. We mentioned Ayub Bouadi. Mentioned Emi Martinez. Fabrizio Romano with a couple. Atleti made their contact with Juve about Jonathan David. Haven't been any negotiations yet. And talks between Arsenal and Al Hilal are at the final stages for Gabriel Martinelli to head to the Saudi Pro for over €65 million. Ollie Watkins has agreed to personal terms with Al Hilal, according to Nicolas Shearer, who are now in advanced talks with Villa about the striker. Como formalized a second offer for Fiorentina striker Moise Kean. €40 million bonuses included. Foot Mercato, Al Hilal started to show an interest in Crystal Palace winger Ismail Assar. Galatasaray also continuing to push. Fabrizio Romano, Roma have an agreement with Malik Fofana. Will decide whether or not to sign him, as Lyon won over €35 million. And Bayer Leverkusen focusing on signing Al Ittihad winger Moussa Diaby. Sky Italia, Roma joined Juve in showing an interest in free agent midfielder Frank Kessie. Team talk, Newcastle looking at Feyenoord's Anis Haj Musa and Real Betis Abde Ezel Zuli as they look to sign a winger. Nicolas Shearer, Brighton asked for information on AC Milan midfielder Youssouf Fofana. Sky Italia, AC Milan want to sign 23-year-old young boys attacking midfielder Alvin Sanchez. And Le Parisien, Lens have inquired about the possibility of completing a deal for RB Leipzig center back El Shaddai Bitshiabu before the transfer deadline. So that is the gossip, the rumor, and the innuendo on the day. So then that means what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Brought to us by our friends at Fanatiz at fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important. Helps you out, helps us out, helps them out. Because with adding Fanatiz as your streaming service, you get a lot of the A and B divisions in South America. I think last night I was watching Colombia. I think I was watching either the Paraguayan or the Colombian B division. Had that available last night. And you can get TVV out of Venezuela, CDO Plus out of Chile. You can get Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru, links to CATV, links to Tigo Sports. And so you can get all of those, Nuestra Tele out of Colombia. All of that can be in one location for you. TSA out of Argentina means you get Copa Argentina and all of their great coverage, especially when the LPF's night is done. Immediately you can switch over to TSA and watch their nighttime show just rip into the results. Specifically, if one of the big dogs loses or has a lackluster night, and they will have a reporter outside that particular stadium doing man-on-the-street stuff, and it can turn into a hoot, and they don't bleep. So it's an interesting dynamic, shall we say, over at TSA. In addition to all of that stuff, you get all the BNs, and I mean all the BNs. You get to see Kaylin Kyle as the lead North American presenter now. You get to see Middle East, North Africa. You get the 4 European leagues that they have. It is Portugal, it is Turkey, it is France, and it is Poland. You get those 4 leagues, and you also get everything Middle East and North Africa. You get WAFCON, AFCON, Champions League in the AFC. You get all of the under the U qualifiers, the U20, U17, U18, whatever. You get all of those U qualifiers for their respective World Cups. You get all those competitions. Like I said, AFCON, WAFCON. They went wall-to-wall on WAFCON. It was great. So you get all of that on the BNs. And that's a part of things at Fanatis at fntz.co/soccer down here. Once again, that link is important. Helps us out, helps you out, helps them out. So what to watch on TV today? BN has the Copa Sudamericana at 8:30. It's River Plate and Santa Fe. Leagues Cup doubleheaders on FS1, 8:40, 10:55. BN en Español simulcasting, obviously, the Sudamericana. Deportes has La Liga, Real Madrid, Real Sociedad at 3 o'clock. 2 to NA has Champions League at 3. AEK, Athens, and Levski Sofia simulcasting Leagues Cup. Apple TV, broadcasting Leagues Cup. ESPN Plus, Real Madrid, Real Sociedad, League One, Naples and Union Omaha, 2 matches in the USL Championship. Locomotive Pittsburgh, New Mexico United, and Lexington. 1 matchup in MLS Next Pro. At 9 o'clock at Swangard, Vancouver Whitecaps 2 hosting LAFC 2. If LAFC 2 gets a result in this one, the Whitecaps are eliminated from postseason contention in the Western Conference. Champions League, we'll go over juice boxes here in a bit for both them and for the Carabao Cup, or League Cup, whatever the hell they call it. 4 matches, 3 o'clock in Champions League. Dinamo Zagreb, Lyon, Fenerbahce, AEK, Levski Sofia, Celje, Slovan Bratislava, all available to you on Paramount Plus. Leagues Cup, 3 at 2:45, 1 at 3. Newcastle, West Brom, Bradford City, Burnley, Spurs, Charlton Athletic, Preston North End, and Everton is your 3 o'clocker. And then Central American Cup, 2 at 8:30, 2 at 10:30, Herediano and Antigua, Marathon, Real Esteli, Alajuelense, Plaza Amador, and Celeju and Firpo. So all of that is over at Paramount Plus. Women's action, NWSL, North Carolina Courage and Angel City. That's at 8 o'clock in Cary, North Carolina. College game. Boy, is there a lot of college game stuff today. So I'm going to hydrate before I get into telling you about the individual matchups here, because there's a lot of them. All right, here we go. By the way, hydration brought to us by our friends at local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor stores. All right, men's side. Yeah, there's a lot. And it's either Flow. Most of them are ESPN Plus. If it's somebody different, ACC and X, Flow, I'll let you know. You've got Louisville playing Lipscomb at 6, ACC and X. NC State FIU, ESPN Plus at 7. Furman and Duke at 7, ACC and X. William and Mary, George Mason on the Plus. You have Milwaukee, Loyola, Chicago at 8. San Francisco, Creighton at 8:30. San Jose State, Cal Poly at 10. UC Davis Pacific, Oral Roberts and Fullerton, Cal and Santa Clara's at 10:30. All those are on the Plus. Women's side, they start early as well. Most of them, like I said, if it's ESPN Plus unless I tell you otherwise. Moorhead and Eastern Kentucky. Longwood VMI. Those are at 4 o'clock. 5 o'clock, South Carolina State and the Citadel. That's a sneaky, interesting matchup. Southeast Missouri State at 5. Southeast Louisiana Southern Miss at 5. Louisiana Tech Houston Christian at 6. Gardner-Webb Wofford at 6. Duke and Old Dominion at 6. Campbell and Charleston on Flow at 6. Coastal Carolina UNC Greensboro on the Plus at 6. Jacksonville and University of South Georgia Gainesville campus, 6 o'clock SEC Plus. Virginia Tech Bill and Mary on Flow TV. It is UAB UCF at 7. App State East Carolina is at 7. Jack State Samford is at 7 Eastern. NC State and High Point is at 7. Liberty and Pitt, ACC NX. Vandy and Rice, ESPN+. Auburn, Kennesaw State, 7 o'clock. That one's on the Plains. That one's on ESPN+. Keep an eye on that one tonight. James Madison and Virginia, ACC and X at 7. San Diego and Cal Poly's at 7 on the Plus. FIU, Florida Gulf Coast is at 7. Georgia Southern and Mercer is on the Plus at 7 o'clock. We'll keep an eye on that one. You have Baylor and Texas, 8 o'clock, SEC Network. Southern and SMU, ACC and X at 8 o'clock. Memphis and Ole Miss at 8 on SEC Plus. Clemson, Arkansas is at 8 o'clock, SEC Plus. Air Force A&M is on SEC Plus. Georgia TCU is on ESPN Plus at 8 o'clock. Got the preview for that one coming up. 9 o'clock starts on ESPN Plus. A couple of Cal schools at 10 o'clock. LSU goes west to take on Arizona State. That one is at 10 o'clock on ESPN Plus. The late game is UCLA and Stanford. That one is at 10:30 on ACC and X, ACC Network Extra. Last night, one game in the college ranks. There were actually 6, but one game in the college ranks that is important to our footprint. Georgia State and UAB, 1 goal on the board. Guess what the highlight is? It's that 1 goal, courtesy of our friends at ESPN+.
So here comes a free kick for Georgia State. An opportunity to attack the box as Dahlenyol, the graduate student, lines up. Lofts it deep in the box.
Oh, dangerous.
And into
Goal.
the back of the net as Georgia State takes the first lead of the night.
Again, really came from nothing. A foul that was really an unnecessary foul in the middle of the field. And 4 minutes left. You're tired, and a ball gets lofted in. Just mentioned late in the game. Very good service, and the goal was a head ball that was looped and dipped into the far post. So look, I mean, that's a long way out.
Looks as if Dahlenyol able to record his first goal of the season.
I mean, that's a long way out there to dip in underneath the crossbar far post.
1 goal on the board, that's all you needed if you were Georgia State getting the win with UAB. And so that one was and it was a header from probably 9 yards out. 45-degree angle, far elbow, extended from the 6. But, yeah, 9 yards out, got looped over the keeper. So the 1 goal for Georgia State, and that was all she wrote. So update from Austin, by the way. The number that Austin is using, $7.6 million from Sporting Kansas City in the Owen Wolf deal. 4.5 guaranteed, could get up to an additional 3.1 if certain performance-based conditions are met. First homegrown ever signing in 2021, 147 appearances. So you could, if you are Austin FC, get as much as $7.6 million in your coffers if every box gets clicked for Owen Wolf. Team just released that about 7 minutes ago, and they did release the Jaden Nelson numbers. 1.1 guaranteed compensation, could receive up to an additional $1,225,000 in conditional, once again, if certain conditions are met. So 2 transactions that could be in the neighborhood of $8.9 million down the road for Austin FC if all the boxes get clicked. So that was that's the idea there behind those 2 deals. So we'll see what happens. As a matter of fact, with those 2 deals as we go forward, I'm trying to see if there's anything in the if there's anything that I've missed while I was staring at my notes. I'm trying to see if there is, let's see, Breel Embolo. Yes, Jake Stanley from UGA. Number 17, Georgia, and this is in Fort Worth, by the way, at Garvey Rosenthal. 8 o'clock tonight. 2-0-2 Georgia, 1-1-1 TCU, and TCU is either receiving votes or number 15 in the country. Will Connolly and Alex Michalski are going to be on the broadcast for you. And Georgia back on the road, major non-conference showdown Thursday night. Bulldogs 6-6 all-time in matches played in the state of Texas. Wins in their last 3. Texas A&M in 22, Texas A&M and Texas last year. Georgia also a 7-10-2 record against Big 12 opponents. Last two meetings resulting in losses during the 24 season with UCF and Colorado. Bulldog senior midfielder Gabby Ceballos began her career with TCU in 2023, 4 minutes in a match against Southern Miss. So that is the note on that particular conversation with the University of Georgia. And if you missed, speaking of conversations, a subtle plug. It was great yesterday to catch up with Glenn Davis out at 97.5 in Houston, ESPN 97.5 in Houston, for just a conversation that we got to have about the state of soccer here in the Southeast and in the Southeastern Conference. And it was cool to catch up with Glenn. It was cool to see him for the matchup in Athens, and it was great to see what was going on from his perspective and Marion Crowder's perspective last week when it was Georgia and James Madison, but now blessed to return the favor and talk about the state of soccer here in the Southeast and this particular state of soccer and do it on his show. Let me see if I can find the link real quick. I think I've got the link. I do, as a matter of fact. And I am in hour number 2. I am the caboose on his show. So if any of you are interested, you can go to ESPN975.com and you can go to the Soccer Matters tab. And it is Glenn Davis and myself. And I was like the 6th of 6 guests that was on the show yesterday. So 2 hours, and Glenn does that a couple times a week. But yesterday's show wrapped with yours truly, and it was a great conversation to catch up on UGA and James Madison first off. And then it was great to just kind of go back and forth about what could be in the Southeastern Conference. And I gave a couple of notes about, think about what it could be here, think about what it could be here, think about what it could be in this venue, just kind of thinking out loud as to what it could be, considering what we saw with 25,000 folks at Sanford Stadium. Just think about what it could be in other venues. Just think about other venues in the Southeastern Conference and what it could be like. Future is there, and it was really cool to kind of go through it all with Glenn Davis. And it was great to catch up with Glenn, by the way. So yeah, ESPN975.com/soccer-matters. And that is that's our chance to have the conversations with Glenn Davis on a basis where we get to kind of just, whenever he calls, was like, yeah, shoot, yeah, well, come on. That's an easy one. That's an easy one, man. That is no worries there at all. All right, so getting into the juice boxes of the activity that is going on today. So Champions League, and this is where you get into qualifications. AEK Athens favored at home against Levski Sofia to -217. Celje is favored at a +138 at home against Slovan Bratislava, who's a +200. Viking of Norway a +141 against Dinamo Zagreb, a +170. And Lyon a -110 hosting Fenerbahce at a +275. That's the Champions League qualifiers. And since it is the middle of the week, the Europa League stuff is tomorrow, and there's a boatload of stuff in the Europa League starting at noon. So it's noon, 1, 2, and 2:30 Eastern time, and we'll go into those numbers tomorrow as a part of any and all of our stuff. Speaking of numbers, time to get into picks of the week. And for picks of the week, it was, let's just say it was intriguing. I mean, it's not surprising with yours truly, considering how bad he is at this. But as we go later on, into the week, then the numbers will post into the Discord. The matches will end up in the Discord, and we'll break it all down there for you. So here we go with the 8 matchups and the tiebreaker from last week. Liga de Expansión and Liga MX, and this is in no real order. So, but either way, you'll know that I had a horrible week. I was 2-6, finished at a -440, by the way. Liga de Expansión, it was Tapatío knocking off Zacatecas 4-2. I had Zacatecas at a +190 on the road. I was wrong. Argentina, Racing Club, and Boca ended up as a draw. I had Boca. I was wrong. Brazil, Serie A. Botafogo and Atlético Paranaense. I picked a draw. Atletico won at a plus 227, so obviously I was wrong. Chilean Primera, O'Higgins and Palestino. I said it was going to be a draw. Palestino, the underdog on the road, 1-1-0. So there you go. I'm 0 for 4. Honduran Liga Nacional. Orlando and Olimpia. I picked Olimpia. I was wrong. It was a draw at 1-1. Panama's LPF, Liga Profesional de Fútbol, their top division. Monday night, Alianza and Tauro, and I had Alianza at a plus 135. That was the first game that I won. 1-5 at that point. NWSL Angel City and Gotham. Draw was a plus 225. I said draw. I got that one. That was the last one I got. And then Argentina and the Primera Nacional on Monday afternoon. It was Club Atlético Güemes and Atlético Rafaela. I had no clue. I picked Rafaela as a road dog. It ended up as a draw. And the number of fouls called in Sporting Kansas City and Atlanta, I had 19 and the number was 21. So I didn't go over, and I was relatively close. So yeah, I was 2-6 and had a record of minus 440. Yay me. So once again, later in the week, I'll post the matchups in the Discord, and they'll be traditionally Sunday, Monday, and we'll try to make them as obscure as humanly possible, and we will continue to have fun with that here in the Clausura, and we'll figure it all out. So that is your picks of the week for today. Other things to look at today, USL Championship, El Paso is hosting Pittsburgh at 9 o'clock Eastern. Our friend Duke Keith on the call there. El Paso at a plus 110, draws a plus 210. Pittsburgh is a plus 225. New Mexico United at the Lab hosting Lex SC. Lex SC is favored on the road, by the way. 9:30 Eastern at plus 145, and New Mexico is a plus 150. So 2 matchups in USL Championship tonight. And we had the one matchup in MLS Next Pro. Let's see if that one had juice boxes. It does. LAFC 2 is pretty heavily favored. Minus 133 on the road at Swangard. Vancouver's a plus 243. Once again, LAFC gets a result. Vancouver's out of the playoffs. Playoff contention. Draws a plus 315. And so LAFC needs that one, and they need points. Vancouver needs it if they want to stay in the hunt to try and chase after any spot that is left available between now and the remaining matches in the regular season. One game today in League One, FC Naples, big underdog hosting Union Omaha to minus 105. Naples is a plus 215. That kick is 7:33-ish, I believe. And let's see, do we have a midweek game? Yeah, we do have the one midweek game in the NWSL. Courage favored at home at a minus 105. Angel City is a plus 220, and your draw is a plus 254. Speaking of the NWSL, the Chicago Stars are going to stay at Martin Stadium on the waterfront for the 27 season. They eventually want to move into Bird Stadium, the new Northwestern mega stadium that they built. But next year they're going to stay again in Martin. And I think that right now is more befitting of their crowds. I would much rather have a smaller venue that is full and loud as opposed to a larger venue that is cavernous. And so right now I think Martin is the fit for a team that is struggling in the NWSL. So we'll see what that looks like. But in 27, it is Chicago Stars staying at Martin Stadium in 2027. Also, I don't know if you saw this in The Guardian, but it has to do with the activity going on in women's football in England. And it was something that has raised a lot of ire amongst the fans in the WSL. And WSL Academy teams are going to play in the 3rd tier after the FA has approved their new plan. This is from the Guardian Wire Services. 4 WSL Academy teams are going to play in the Women's National League in 27-28. The FA says the move is going to raise standards and help young players. change forms part of what the FA described as a package of reforms to, quote, design and strengthen the women's football pyramid, raise standards across the league, and improve development pathway for young players. Data showed young English players were getting significantly fewer competitive minutes than their counterparts across Europe's leading leagues, according to the FA. So now, WNL clubs will receive central funding for the first time, and changes to the loan market will encourage clubs from the top 2 divisions to loan players to clubs in the 3rd and 4th tiers. WSL Academy teams will not be eligible for promotion, obviously, and will be chosen against criteria to be developed in the coming months, according to the FA. The 3rd tier split into 2 geographical regions. It's expected 2 academies will be placed in the northern and 2 in the southern. Sue Day, director of women's football at the FA, said, quote, for the game to continue moving forward, FA Women's National League must evolve alongside the professional game. We need to create more opportunities for talented young English players to develop in senior football. We've seen this in other leagues on the men's side where, Barca B has been there. It's like Italian clubs and Spanish clubs. They're in the lower divisions as well, and they're going up against independent clubs that don't have the second teams that have been plugged in. We've seen this in other nations. So we'll see how this fits in England as we go. But right now, Women's National League clubs, once again, academy teams obviously not eligible for promotion, chosen against criteria, but they will be in the 4 WSL Academy sides get to play in the 3rd tier of the pyramid from the 27-28 season and beyond. So that is that rundown for you when it comes to the future of the women's game in England. So let's see if there's anything else. Sunderland submitted an offer to sign Jack Grealish from Manchester City, according to David Ornstein. Bid for the 30-year-old winger, covering part of his salary and the possibility of becoming permanent next summer when the contract ends. Sunderland is pursuing Igor Paixão in a parallel move with life going on with Sunderland and Manchester City. So Sunderland is pursuing Igor Paixão in a parallel move as they continue to try to pursue Jack Grealish from Manchester City. So we'll keep an eye on. That as well. Trying to see if there's anything else that was missed. And Nico will get into this probably again tomorrow. Sounders were looking to extend Albert Rusnak's contract 2.5 years in order to bring him off of the occupying the DP slot. With that DP space, the club is actively in conversation to bring Joveljic in, and so that was part of the deal. So they were looking to extend Rusnak's contract as a hook to bring in Dejan Joveljic, and so that was where all of this came together. So, like I said, we'll keep an eye on this, and we'll talk about it more tomorrow, and we'll let you know what the latest is in all of this when it comes to Joveljic in, contracts swirling around, and we'll try and figure out who's doing what and where. We'll try and lock all that stuff down with Nico Moreno joining us tomorrow. So tomorrow it is going to be hour number 2, the Power Hour with Dino and Nico, 10 to 10:30 or 10 to 11-ish, 11 to 5-ish. And then we're going to catch up with Georgia Gwinnett. We're going to catch up with them on Thursday and Friday. We're going to catch up with Tuskegee's men's team before their matchup with Huntington on Friday. So it's going to be kind of flying in and around. Lori Lindsay set to join us at 10 o'clock on Friday as well to get everything pushing and moving and getting you ready for the weekend there. One other thing before we get out of here, and it has to do with the work that Atlanta United is doing off the field. And later today, it is a brand new pitch that is going to be at the Andrew and the Walter Young Family YMCA with Mayor Andre Dickens. And that is going to be unveiled late this afternoon. Youth development coaches, 60 players, 5 to 12 drills and exercises as well. But Ambassador Young, Dr. Walter Young are going to address attendees, and Mayor Dickens is going to be there. Representatives from Atlanta United, YMCA of Metro Atlanta, and AmFam are going to be there too. So a big day. It's going to be Ronald Hernandez, Fafa Pico, Jay Fortune, Tristan Muyumba, and they're going to be there with Brad Gazan and Andre Dickens and Ambassador Young and Dr. Walter Young at Campbellton Road in Southwest Atlanta. So we will effort that. We'll have that ready for you. We'll have that info for you tomorrow as well. So very, very cool stuff there that we'll be letting you know about. And Atlanta United also and AmFam are announcing a multi-pitch programming partnership for GA 100 openings. And so this campaign that we have seen evolve, and so partnership kicked off once again with Toomer Elementary. Then you have the Andrew and Walter Young Family YMCA Southwest Atlanta, September 30 and October 7. Bay Creek Middle and Berkmar Middle in Gwinnett County are going to be added to it. GA 100 so far has 24 new or refurbished pitches across Georgia, 53 locations identified, in progress, or completed. And it is an associate-led affiliated fund of the Arthur M. Blank Foundation. Committee determines funding priorities, grant applications, and monitors the impact of the grants. And so that is a part of this as well. And the next 3 get announced starting today at Campbellton Road later on this afternoon. So that is the latest involving Atlanta United off the pitch as they get ready on the pitch for Charlotte coming up this weekend. NYCFC have signed Tavon Gray to a contract extension. That literally just happened through 28-29, option for 29-30. So that is the latest involving Tavon Gray and his stay at NYCFC. So that also signed there. And let's see, what else have I missed? Have I missed anything else? I think we're good to go. I think that covers it for today. You know, I told you there's a lot of news. A lot of news to get into today. And then we got through a lot of it, plus the picks of the week and some breaking stuff as well. Jay Fortune under contract extension, and he will answer questions about it tomorrow. Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground. It'll be good to see Jay this afternoon at YMCA in Southwest Atlanta off of Campbellton Road. It'd be great to see you there as well. But once again, tomorrow, we're going to catch up with Georgia Gwinnett. We're going to start that. And then it's going to be Nino and Nico in the 10 o'clock hour in the Power Hour, and that'll get us ready for Friday, where we're going to go Tuskegee, Georgia Gwinnett, Lori Lindsay, maybe somebody else I've been linked to, but we haven't got it confirmed yet, and we'll get you ready for the weekend in a bunch of different places. So that's the rest of the week for us here at SDH AM. And don't forget, Friday night, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock, the Twos in Fort Lauderdale at the Erector Set, taking on Inter Miami CF2. Must-win game to kind of keep pace. If they win, then they'll be in 4th temporarily, but MLS Next Pro. But still, that's how jammed everything is right now in the Eastern Conference. Race to stay in, race to get in, race not to drop, happening over the final month of the season. And we'll have it for you here on the SDH Network. So thanks to all of you. Morning, Abby. Thanks to all of y'all for hanging out. And thanks for being a part of everything, as you always are. Since it is the end of the morning show, it means I get to do one thing. I get to do this. Back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow morning for another go-round of SDH AM. Mucho plati, y'all. Play it safe. See you later.